You are not broke because you do not earn enough. You are broke because you were taught to spend everything you earn and then borrow to spend more. There are families across China, not executives, not tech founders, not lottery winners, ordinary families earning modest salaries who quietly accumulate more wealth in a decade than most Western households build in 30 years. Not because they discovered a secret investment, not because they got lucky, but because they practice 10 financial habits so deeply embedded in Chinese culture that no one in the family even thinks of them as financial strategy. To them, it is simply how you live. And here is what separates their approach from everything you have been taught about money. None of these 10 habits require a high salary. None require financial literacy courses or complicated spreadsheets. They require a shift, K-Euro, not in what you earn, but in how you relate to what you already have. Stay until habit number 10, because it is the one that holds every other habit in this video together, and without it, the other 9 eventually collapse. Habit number 6 will change the way you think about every meal you eat this week. And habit number 3 is so counterintuitive that most Western financial advisors would never recommend it, yet Chinese families have practiced it for centuries, and the data says they are right. Let us begin. Here is the financial model most people in the West are raised on. You earn money, you spend money. If there is anything left at the end of the month, you save it. And if there is nothing left, euro, which, statistically, is most months' euro, you save nothing and hope the next month is different. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York reported that total American credit card debt reached $1.252 trillion in the first quarter of 2026. The average American household carrying credit card debt owes approximately $6,065, according to an analysis by the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. And a 2026 study by Capital One Shopping found that 92% of American consumers have a history of impulse buying, with the average person making 9.75 unplanned purchases per month of euro, spending roughly $282 monthly on items they never intended to buy. This is not a spending problem, it is a structural one. The system was designed to move money out of your hands as fast as it enters them. In Chinese culture, there is a philosophy that predates modern economics by 2,500 years. The DOD, Yang, one of the foundational texts of Chinese thought, identifies 3 treasures that a person should hold above all else: compassion, frugality, and humility. Frugality, Jizhen, is not a limitation in Chinese philosophy. It is a form of power. It is the discipline of keeping more than you release, so that what you build cannot be taken by what you desire. China's gross savings rate stood at 43.1% of GDP in 2025, according to SEEK data, among the highest in the world. The global average is approximately 27%. Chinese households save nearly 25% of their disposable income, according to a 2024 report by Sixth Tone Euro, a figure that is 15 percentage points higher than the global household average, documented by the International Monetary Fund. This is not the behavior of people chasing a windfall. This is the behavior of people who were taught that wealth is not what you earn, it is what you keep. These are 10 habits behind that number, and they cost nothing to start. If Sino Living is already shifting how you think about money, subscribe, because what you are about to hear may change how you spend it for the rest of your life. Habit number 1. They pay themselves first before a single bill is paid. In most Western households, saving is what happens after spending. In Chinese households, saving is what happens before everything else. The moment income arrives, whether it is a salary, a bonus, or cash from a side business, a fixed portion is separated and placed into savings before rent, before groceries, before utilities. The family lives on what remains. Not on the total, on the remainder. Behavioral economist Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2017, demonstrated through his Save More Tomorrow program that automatic, pre-committed savings dramatically outperform savings that depend on end-of-month willpower. His research, published in the Journal of Political Economy, found that participants who committed to saving a portion of future salary increases before receiving them increased their savings rates from 3.5% to 13.6% within 4 years, without ever feeling a reduction in their standard of living. Chinese families have practiced this for generations without the academic framework. The money goes into savings the day it arrives. The family never sees it as available. What you never touch, you never miss. And what you never miss quietly becomes the foundation of everything you build. That is habit number 1. Habit number 2. They do not upgrade their lifestyle when their income rises. In the West, a raise means a reward, a new apartment, a better car, a nicer neighborhood. The income goes up, and the spending follows it stride for stride, until the raise has been entirely absorbed, and the person is left exactly where they started, earning more, keeping nothing. Economists call this the hedonic treadmill. A landmark 2010 study by Kahneman and Deaton at Princeton University, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, tracked 450,000 Americans and found that emotional well-being increased with income, but only up to approximately $75,000 per year. Beyond that threshold, higher income did not produce meaningfully greater daily happiness. Yet spending continued to rise. The raise did not create wealth. It created a more expensive version of the same life. Chinese culture has a built-in resistance to this cycle. The concept of jiaqing frugality as a moral virtue means that the family's lifestyle remains stable regardless of income growth. A 2026 study, published in the Cambridge Journal of Education, examined the deep roots of frugality in the Chinese cultural tradition and concluded that Chinese frugality is not about deprivation, it is a proactive moral choice grounded in the belief that restraint itself is a form of strength, not sacrifice. When a Chinese family's income doubles, their savings double. Their kitchen stays the same. Their car stays the same. The gap between what they earn and what they spend widens in euros. And that gap is where quiet wealth lives. That is habit number 2. Habit number 3. They share a roof across generations, and it is their greatest financial weapon. This is the counterintuitive habit I mentioned at the start. In the West, financial independence means living alone. In China, financial intelligence often means living together. Multi-generational housing, where grandparents, parents, and children share a single home, remains one of the most common household structures in urban China. A 2021 study by Wang and colleagues published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health examined intergenerational cohabitation in Chengdu and found that shared living arrangements were not driven solely by tradition but by deliberate economic strategy. Rent is split or eliminated. Utilities are shared. Childcare is handled internally, eliminating the cost of daycare, which in the United States averages over $14,000 per year per child, according to a 2023 Care.com report. A 2019 Investopedia analysis confirmed that multi-generational housing reduces per-person housing costs by 20 to 40% euro, freeing capital that can be redirected into savings, education, or investment. The West frames independence as moving out. Chinese culture frames independence as building up euro together, and the family that pools its resources under one roof builds a financial base that no individual salary could match alone. That is habit number 3. Habit number 4. They never buy on impulse, and they compare, they wait, and they walk away. A 2026 study by Capital One Shopping found that 36% of Americans described most of their purchases as unplanned. The average American spends $282 per month on items they did not intend to buy. Over a year, that is nearly $3,400 spent on decisions made in less than a few seconds. In Chinese consumer culture, comparison shopping is not a strategy. It is a reflex. A 2021 study by Yuan and colleagues published in PMC examined Chinese consumer behavior and found that Chinese shoppers demonstrate significantly higher pre-purchase research behavior than their Western counterparts and KAIs, comparing prices across multiple sellers, evaluating value-for-money ratios, and delaying purchases until the optimal price appears. Chinese families practice what could be called the overnight rule. If the item is not essential, the decision waits until tomorrow. If tomorrow arrives and the desire has faded, the purchase was never a need. It was a reaction, and reactions are the single most expensive habit in personal finance. The money you do not spend impulsively is the money that stays. And Chinese families have guarded that money with patience their entire lives. That is habit number 4. Habit number 5. They treat debt as a moral weight, not a financial tool. In the West, debt is normalized. Credit cards are offered to college students. Car loans stretch to 7 years. Home equity lines of credit are marketed as opportunities. Debt is not feared, it is expected. In Chinese culture, debt carries a different weight. It is not just a financial obligation. It is a loss of face euro, miens, the social reputation and dignity that, according to a 2024 study by Zhou and colleagues published in PMC, drives a significant portion of Chinese financial behavior. Being in debt, particularly consumer debt for non-essential purchases, is considered a failure of self-governance, not a temporary cash flow issue. This cultural framework produces a measurable result. While American credit card debt surpasses $1.25 trillion nationally, Chinese households have historically maintained some of the lowest consumer debt ratios among major economies. The cultural aversion to owing money acts as a behavioral guardrail that prevents the slow financial erosion that debt creates through compound interest working against the borrower instead of for them. When you owe nothing, everything you earn is yours. And when everything you earn is yours, wealth is not a goal, it is an inevitability. That is habit number 5. Habit number 6. They cook almost every meal at home, and the savings are staggering. This is the habit I told you would change how you think about every meal this week. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey for 2024, the average American household spent $6,224 on food at home and $3,945 on food away from home. That means American families spend nearly 40% of their food budget outside the kitchen. Over a decade, the difference between cooking at home and eating out regularly amounts to tens of thousands of dollars. A 2014 study by Monsiváis and colleagues, published in PMC, found that households spending less than 1 hour per day on food preparation spent significantly more money on food away from home and relied more frequently on fast food, creating a dual penalty of higher cost and lower nutritional value. Chinese families cook at home as a default euro, not occasionally, but daily. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are prepared in the family kitchen. Takeout is an exception, not a habit. The wok is the most used tool in the household. And the savings compound in ways that most Western families never calculate because they never try the alternative long enough to measure it. When your kitchen replaces the restaurant, you are not just eating better, you are paying yourself the difference every single day. That is habit number 6. If this is reshaping the way you see your own spending, tap that like button. This is what Sino Living explores: the quiet, invisible habits that separate those who build from those who bleed, and your support helps this reach someone who needs it today. Habit number 7. They teach children about money before children learn to spend it. In Chinese culture, a child's first financial lesson does not come from a classroom. It comes from a red envelope. During Chinese New Year, children receive ha, kung, ba, o, red envelopes containing money, given by elders as a symbol of good fortune. But the lesson embedded inside the envelope is not about receiving, it is about what you do next. In many Chinese families, the child is guided to save the money euro, often depositing it into a bank account opened in the child's name. The red envelope becomes the first introduction to the concept that money received is money protected, not money spent. A 2024 report by TD Bank documented how this tradition instills early financial awareness, noting that the cultural practice of ha-o teaches children from a young age that money is meaningful, valuable, and worth holding onto before the broader consumer environment teaches them the opposite. By the time a Chinese child reaches adulthood, saving is not a learned behavior, it is an inherited one, and inherited behaviors do not require motivation, they require nothing at all because they were never separate from the way life was lived. That is habit number 7. Habit number 8. They invest in education before they invest in anything else. In Chinese culture, education is not an expense. It is the highest return investment a family can make. The Chinese concept of jiaoya, ta kuza, investing in education, is treated with the same seriousness as property investment, and in many families, with even greater priority. A 2022 study by Peng and colleagues published in the Journal of Family and Economic Issues confirmed that Chinese households consistently allocate a disproportionate share of income toward educational expenditure, viewing knowledge as a permanent asset that cannot be lost, stolen, or devalued by market fluctuations. The Center for Strategic and International Studies documented in a 2024 report that growing Chinese investment in higher education has driven research productivity and global university rankings to historic levels. Chinese families do not save to consume. They save to elevate. And the elevation they choose is not a car or a vacation. It is a degree, a skill, a capability that will generate returns for a lifetime. The money goes into the mind, and the mind pays it back with interest for decades. That is habit number 8. Habit number 9. They buy for durability, never for trends. A Chinese family's kitchen wok lasts 30 years. Their furniture is solid wood, purchased once and maintained. Their clothing is practical, replaced when worn, not when a new season arrives. This is the opposite of fast consumer culture. Fast fashion alone costs the average American woman approximately $1,800 per year, according to a 2023 report by ThreadUp. Multiply that by a decade, and the wardrobe that was replaced 12 times has cost more than the wardrobe that was bought once and kept. Chinese frugality, as documented in the 2026 Cambridge Journal of Education study, is rooted in the Confucian concept of wa, jian, ka, wan, euro, using an object to the fullest extent of its function before considering replacement. The question is not whether something newer exists. The question is whether the thing you already own has stopped serving you. If it has not, the newer version is not an upgrade, it is a waste. When you buy fewer things of higher quality and keep them longer, the math changes. Not dramatically at first, but over years and decades, the family that replaces less accumulates more quietly, without announcement, without anyone noticing, until the difference becomes undeniable. That is habit number 9. Habit number 10. They define wealth as freedom, not as display. This is the habit I told you holds every other habit together, because without this one, all the saving, all the cooking, all the patience eventually collapses under the pressure to show the world what you have built. In Western consumer culture, wealth is performed. The car you drive, the neighborhood you live in, the brand on your clothes, the restaurant you are photographed at. Wealth is not what you have, it is what people see you having. And the cost of that performance is the wealth itself. In Chinese philosophy, true wealth is invisible. The Dao Da Yang teaches that the person who knows they have enough is truly wealthy, not the person who has the most, the person who has stopped needing more. This is not poverty dressed as virtue. It is clarity and euro, the understanding that money spent to impress others is money that no longer belongs to you. A 2024 study by Zhou and colleagues analyzed the cultural construct of Mianzi and found that while face-driven spending exists in Chinese society, the dominant generational financial behavior, particularly among families that have successfully built intergenerational wealth, prioritizes invisible accumulation over visible consumption. The families who build the most show the least. Because showing is spending, and spending is the opposite of building. Quiet wealth does not announce itself. It does not need to. It is felt in the absence of debt, in the freedom of choice, in the ability to walk away from a job that no longer serves you, in the security of knowing that the next emergency will not break you. That is not a number. That is a feeling, and it is the feeling that all 10 of these habits are designed to protect. That is habit number 10. Now here is what connects all 10 of these habits. They are not about deprivation, they are about direction. Paying yourself before the world takes its share, refusing to let your lifestyle chase your income, sharing a roof because building together is faster than building alone, walking away from impulse because patience is free and regret is expensive, treating debt as a weight, not a tool, cooking at home because the difference funds the future, teaching children that money is a responsibility before it is a reward, investing in the mind because knowledge does not depreciate, buying for decades, not for seasons, and defining wealth as the freedom to choose euros, not the pressure to perform. 10 habits. No luck, no lottery, no six-figure salary. You do not need to earn more. You need to keep more of what you already earn, and then you need to do it again tomorrow, and the day after, and the year after that, until the quiet math becomes undeniable. Now tell me in the comments, euro, which of these 10 habits are you starting this month? Not the one that sounds good, the one you are actually willing to commit to, the one that, if you practiced it every single day for a year, would change your financial life in a way no raise ever could. And if there is someone in your life who works hard, earns enough, and still feels like they are falling behind, someone who deserves to know that the problem was never their salary, send them this video. You do not need to explain. Just share it. They will understand. And if you are new to Sino Living, this is what we do here. We look at the quiet, ancient habits that modern life trained you to forget, and we ask whether the expensive way was ever the right way. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.